"Is this some kind of joke?" asked the young officer as she stepped out of the patrol car with a mocking look. James Harris, 82 years old, remained still on his motorcycle, hands steady on the handlebars, his calm eyes fixed on the horizon. The officers exchanged impatient glances. "License and registration, and get off the bike now, sir." Her voice was firm. She wore mirrored sunglasses, one hand already resting on her holstered weapon. What they didn't know was that in just a few minutes, 50 soldiers led by a captain would arrive in Humvees, looking for whoever had dared to stop James Harris. James Harris has been waking up at 5 in the morning every day for the past 40 years. Discipline still runs through his veins. His small farm sits about 10 miles outside of town. Yesterday, his 1978 John Deere tractor broke down. Apart from the hydraulic system, Harris knows exactly which part it is. 42 years of fixing machines teaches a man to recognize every bolt, every gear. In the old rusty garage, Harris keeps a 1970 Harley-Davidson shovelhead. The engine roars like thunder. He doesn't care about appearances. The bike works. It gets him where he needs to go. That's enough. At 82, he rides better than most men in their 20s. Reflexes sharpened by decades of military training, always aware of his surroundings, a situational awareness that never left him. Those with the most to teach are often the ones who look like they have nothing to say. The traffic light turned red at the entrance to town. Harris stopped the Harley beside the gas station where he usually filled up. The engine kept rumbling, a deep, steady sound that echoed between houses and storefronts. That low roar of the old 1970. Harley shovelhead fell silent the moment he saw flashing police lights in his rearview mirror. Officer Ava Johnson walked toward the bike with long, confident strides, mirrored sunglasses. 28 years old, 3 years on the city patrol. "Is this a joke?" she said with a mocking tone as she stepped out of the cruiser. "Sir, shut off that junk right now." Harris didn't move, still sitting on the bike, hands steady on the handlebars. Eyes calm, locked on the horizon. The officers exchanged impatient looks. "License and registration, and step off the motorcycle now." Johnson's voice was firm, one hand already resting on her weapon. He handed over the documents without rushing, everything neatly organized inside a worn-out brown leather wallet.
What?
Johnson looked at the license with suspicion. 82 years old.
Ow, don't you think you're a little too old to be riding a motorcycle? Yes, sir.
Officer David Lopez walked up, grinning. He looked the bike over from top to bottom. "Man, this Harley's older than my dad. Look at all that rust." "Hands on the bike, sir. Feet apart," Johnson ordered. "Da!" The search was unnecessary, and they both knew it, but they did it anyway. A small crowd began to form. Murmurs filled the air. "Mr. Harris, where do you live?" "On a farm nearby, right off Highway 340. Alone?" "Alone?" Johnson exchanged a glance with Lopez. It said, "Another confused old man." "Do you have family? Anyone who takes care of you?" "I've been taking care of myself for 82 years. Yes. But don't you think it's dangerous to ride that motorcycle at your age? You could cause an accident, hurt someone." Harris stayed silent, his eyes fixed on the horizon, hands clasped behind his back. "Sir, I'm talking to you. I'm listening." "Then answer me. Don't you think it's irresponsible to ride an old bike like that at your age?" Lopez leaned in and whispered to Johnson. "I think you might be a little deaf too." "Look at him just standing there, barely responding." Johnson raised her voice. "Mr. Harris, can you hear me? You understand what I'm saying?" The crowd grew. So did the voices. "Poor old man. Don't these cops have better things to do? He does look kind of confused. Somebody should call his family." The world split, as it always does, between compassion and judgment, especially when we don't know someone's story. Harris remained silent. He closed his eyes for a few seconds, took a deep breath. He had faced far worse situations than this, in places far more dangerous, with consequences far more serious. But that was over 50 years ago. Now he was just another old man being humiliated in public. Across the street at the gas station, the owner, Marcus, stopped wiping down the fuel pump. Gulf War veteran, 58 years old, he recognized James Harris immediately. Harris had been filling up at that station for 15 years, always polite, always on time with his payments, always with a kind word for Marcus. Marcus saw the humiliation unfolding and felt his blood boil. He grabbed the phone and dialed the nearby military base at Fort Carson. "Hello? This is Marcus Williams. I need to speak with an officer on duty and it's urgent. Back across the street, things were getting worse. Officer Johnson was now raising her voice, clearly irritated by Harris's silence. Sir, you're going to have to come with us to the station. Harris finally spoke, his voice calm and low. And what for? For inappropriate behavior and failure to properly respond to a law enforcement officer? She paused, then added, Also, you need a medical evaluation before even thinking about riding that motorcycle again. Harris looked at her, the same patience he'd once used to train hundreds of young soldiers. The same kind of patience he'd shown 18-year-old recruits who arrived at boot camp thinking they already knew everything about life. Ava, let me try, said Lopez. Mr. Harris, you understand our concern, right? Man your age riding a bike like that, it could be dangerous. For who? For you. For other drivers. I've been riding for 65 years. Yeah, but now it's different. Slower reflexes, impaired vision. Harris could have explained that his reflexes were tested 6 months ago during his annual medical check. That he exercises every day. That his coordination is better than most younger men's. He could have said all that. But he didn't need to prove anything to anyone. On the phone with the base, Marcus explained the situation. We've got a fellow veteran being disrespected by local police. James Harris, 82 years old. I've known him for 15 years. He's an honest man being humiliated in public just for riding his bike. The officer on the other end of the line suddenly changed his tone. Did you say James Harris? Hold on a second. A moment later, Mr. Williams, keep your eyes on the situation. We're sending a unit right now. Do not let them do anything to Colonel Harris until we arrive. Colonel, back. Give you details over the phone, but we'll be there in 15 minutes. The call ended. Marcus stepped closer to the road, his heart pounding. Colonel James had never mentioned his military rank. Across the street, the situation reached a whole new level of absurdity. Officer Johnson had now decided Harris needed to be taken in for a psychiatric evaluation. Mr. Harris, I'm going to need you to get in the vehicle. We're going to the hospital for an evaluation. I'm not going. What do you mean you're not going? This isn't a request. It's an order. Based on what law? Johnson hesitated. There's no law that allows someone to detain an elderly man just for riding an old motorcycle. No regulation that mandates a psych evaluation without reasonable cause. 8. But now she was in too deep. People were filming.
Backing down
would mean admitting poor judgment.